Okay, I'm back again. This is probably going to be a shorter episode because I really enjoyed last time talking about musical artists that I enjoy. I talked about Lorde. This time, I'm talking about Charli XCX and PC Music, which I have covered on the pod before, but in light of new developments in the Charli XCX universe, I did want to revisit it a little bit. Before I do that, I just have really been enjoying listening to podcasts where the guests talk about their lives beforehand, and I'm just gonna do that. Also, let me fix my fuck ass. It's not a ponytail because it's like too small. I guess it's still a ponytail if it's at the top of your head and it doesn't include all of your hair. Is that worse? I can't tell if it's better or worse. You guys, I got a haircut and I don't know if it's suiting me. Actually, you know what? I do think it suits me. I like the length a lot. I just am really struggling with the styling side of it because I don't just want to constantly have the same bob. But I guess when you have a bob, you just have a bob. Like, you can't really do much with the bob. So I have a half a bob right now. And I guess I could do... that's it. I think I can pull it back, I guess. But I don't really like to pull my hair back. I like to have my ponytails up. I like to have a bun that's up. And I can't do that with this hair because there's just not enough of it. It has to be half up or just fully down. I'm really getting used to speaking again right now, if you can't tell. I haven't really spoken all day because I worked from home today. So that's what's happening. That's why I'm talking dumb. But we're going to move past that. Yeah, one of my favorite podcasts right now is Voice Notes with Jordan Teresa. She does like video essays on YouTube, but I like her podcast even more. Although some of her video essays are very, very good. I liked she did one on Lads Mags, like the British, it's really funny that I did this gesture for that. They're magazines featuring nude or nudish women, but also they featured like Britpop artists, and they sort of evolved to become even more like stupid in the 2000s. From the 90s, they were like sort of music mags, culture mags as well. Just go watch the video. Anyway, I like her podcast. And like the first half of her podcast is always just like, hey guys, I partied. You want to hear about my partying? And I was like, I do want to hear about it because I love living vicariously through other people. I just think it's fun. So I'm going to talk about my life a little bit, if you're okay with that. And then we're going to get into Charli. What is going on in my life? Tonight, I do have plans. I am going to a wine bar that I like a lot called Heavenly Creatures. And me and my two friends, we are going to try their strawberry shortcake. Because I guess, so Portland is really big on its food month. I live in Portland, Oregon, not Maine. And there's always like a cheeseburger month, taco month, and it's currently strawberry shortcake month. So you can tell we're sort of running out of ideas. But I love strawberry shortcake. That's like something that my mom used to just like randomly make sometimes. And I was like, yeah, let's eat some of that. Let's have some of that. So a couple of my friends and I are going to go to this wine bar, have some wine, and I'm excited about that. I also, this is much more exciting for anybody listening to this probably, went on the Criterion bus this weekend. The Criterion Collection, which distributes, I wanted to just say like luxury DVDs. That is kind of what it is here. I literally have my DVD collection sitting here. Not all of these are Criterion, but I have some of the ones I got on the Criterion bus, and I have some other ones that are Criterion. I have more DVDs than this. I don't know where the rest of them went. I think they're sitting in my old couch in my parents' shop. My parents have like this big-ass barn next to their house that my dad built when I was like 10. My dad loves to build things. Like, one thing he used to do when I was younger was just be like, I'm going to build a structure. And he would carve out space on my parents' property, which is like 2 acres. Like, it's not a lot of land. But my dad was like, I'm going to build a big barn. And it actually became so big that you can no longer call it a barn. So we call it a shop. And it's a big metal structure that is 2 stories tall, that contains mice and stuff that he has bought over the years for the yard, to have, a lot of old furniture is in there. It's just like instead of buying a storage space somewhere, renting a storage facility space, my parents have this thing where I keep some of my old shit now as well. I have a room in there. Yes, there are rooms. There are singular rooms in there. And I have one that has a bunch of my old stuff in it from like my first apartment after college. And I do think I have some DVDs in my couch because it was like a lift up couch. And I need to sell that couch. It was actually kind of cute. It was like a jewel toned green couch, which is no longer something that I would have in my house. But at the time I really liked it. And I do still like the idea of having a pull-out couch. Anyway, tangent. I think some of my DVDs are in there. But I went on the Criterion bus. I waited about 4 hours. It's become kind of notorious for how long the lines are because there's just really high demand. I honestly don't know how better they could have done it. I guess you could have had people like reserve time slots online, but then like not everybody's going to show up and people are going to hear about it weekend of that didn't reserve and like want to get in. So like, I think the way to do it is just have people unfortunately line up at 8:30 and like they kind of randomly put you in line from there. Like you kind of line, the way the Portland one was shaped was that it was lined around a park block and then they kind of took people from 3 random areas and then made their own line. So you couldn't really line up. It was like they lined you up, whether you wanted that or not. But I got lucky-ish, I think. Waiting 4 hours seemed like, compared to some other people, not that bad. Especially stories that I heard online. A lot of people I know didn't even get in, like they showed up too late. I showed up at the time that they started saying you could line up, and I made it. I made it in. They let me on the bus. And it was fun. I mean, I was with my friends, so it's like, well, you're really just hanging out with your friends all the time. Like, that's fine. I can do that. And it was a nice day outside. Yeah, I mean, all the staff was really nice. There were a lot of people from, like, the Criterion office in New York that were like, we love movies, and we're so glad that you love movies. And I don't know. I have a soft spot for that. I have a degree in cinema studies. So, I don't know. I'm the target demo for that sort of thing. But Criterion makes what I'm going to call luxury DVDs, but they really are just like deluxe editions of older or like canonized quote unquote films with like extra bonus content from like the director, writers, basically whoever in the making of the film is probably most important. There's like probably an interview or like an essay in there, some like behind the scenes stuff, maybe some like documentary content. It really does vary, and a lot of them are Blu-ray releases, so they can get quite expensive, but if you go on the Criterion bus, it was 40% off, which is pretty good. That's like, I think better than the Barnes & Noble Criterion sale, although correct me if I'm wrong. So I got on the bus. You can only pick 3 DVDs because limited selection, it's a small bus. And side note, it smelled like a bus in there. Like gasoline and feet, maybe? But I got 3 DVDs. I got Masculine Feminine by Jean-Luc Godard. I'm really excited about this one. This was the first... You know what? That's a lie. It's not the first French New Wave film that got me really into it, which that is one of my personal favorite cinema movements. Very cliche thing to be into for a woman who enjoys film. Look at her. Look at us. This is one of the films that I think really forced me to start intellectualizing, I think, my taste in film. So I grabbed it. I really thought this film was misogynistic at first because it does challenge you with thoughts about what men think about women and what women think about men. And my ultimate takeaway from it is that it's like against the gender war, which was also very present in the 1960s. We're basically living in the 1960s again, culturally. Just by the way. And I just think that's fun because I like women and I also like men. And I like thinking about the things that we believe about each other. And that's what this film is about. I enjoy it. There's also some like leftist politics in there. There's the quote in it about like, we are the generation of Marx and Coca-Cola. It's like, that eats down. I love this movie, so I got it. So when you go around the line in the Criterion bus, many staff members walk by and they're like, hey, what's your name? What movies are you going to get? And I knew ahead of time what movies I was going to get. because I don't play around, and you only have like 3 minutes in the bus. So I was like, masculine, feminine, the other movie I'm gonna show you, and fat girl. And some people know what that is, and they're like, oh, yeah, you're gonna get fat girl. And then other people would be like, oh, what's that? With a really concerned look in their eyes. Because I'm this is no judgment qualifiers whatsoever. I'm not a fat girl. I am a straight-sized person. So I feel kind of weird even saying it out loud, because I don't think fat is like a slur. It's not like an epithet, but it is a word that makes people uncomfortable sometimes. So that is something that I had to consciously try to get over in line. It was like exposure therapy for using words that make me uncomfortable. But anyway, I do love this movie a lot. So I got Fat Girl by Catherine Breillat. I still am not sure if I'm pronouncing her last name correctly. Listen, French, hard. French is really hard. And I've spent time over there. And I don't know how to speak that language. You will hear them speak, and you're like, I don't even know how you pronounce that with your mouth. So yeah, but I love French cinema, clearly. I think this movie is really great. It is about two girls on vacation. They're cousins, sisters. Sisters is literally what it says. And it just kind of explores the differences in what it's like to be perceived as beautiful versus being perceived as not beautiful, especially as like a tween, and how that can be good and bad. There's positive and negatives to both. And it gets very dark, and I think it takes that to a very extreme conclusion. But I like it. I think it's a good movie. This one is about being a woman. Actually, all these movies kind of are. It's my favorite genre. Tiny Furniture, Lena Dunham, is also the last one that I got. And I love this cover. This cover is so funny. Her little face. I think Lena Dunham is very cute. And you can tell lately that I've been into Lena Dunham because all of the episodes lately that I've been doing of this podcast have mentioned her. But yeah, I like this movie. I actually just watched it for the first time recently, and I had a really good time with it and felt like inspired by it. I was like, damn, this is something that like I could make. And that's the best kind of movie, in my opinion. So that's something that I did, and I'm adding those to my collection forthwith. They've already been added. They're here. They live in my house now. What is going on in my life? I feel like I've been really overly busy. I had like a week where I didn't do anything. Like I was just at home kind of hibernating, which was nice. But since then I've been back at it. I saw the band Starfucker DJ last night. Some people outside my apartment are being very loud. Okay, there's so many of them. I'm just gonna keep going, because also I'm on a time crunch because I have to go to my wine bar. But I'm trying to get back on my like doing stuff this summer wave. I am planning. I'm doing some planning. I already went to the river once. I would like to do more sitting by the river time. I would like to hang out with my friends more. I feel like I've been a little bit distant from my friends, but not like in a bad way, just like we've all been busy. I'm going to try to see I Love Boosters this weekend with some of my friends. Little things, trying to engage with my friends and loved ones in very casual ways, not like let's like go on a big night out, but like let's sit next to each other and read. I was thinking about pitching a book club to my friends, actually. I'm probably going to do that before this episode goes up, but if I don't, and you're one of my friends listening to this, you should tell me if you would join a book club that I run, but also, like, anybody could pitch a book, you know? Just trying to find different ways to hang out that don't involve spending a lot of money, because also, like, I'm back in my summer, I don't have any money slump, because I'm just going out too much. I'm doing too much. More walks, more hikes. I also did a Forest Park hike the other day. It was like 30 minutes up and down. But Rachel and I saw a mole like crawled out of the ground, and he like wiggled, and then he wiggled back down. We saw slugs. We saw a snail. It was beautiful. Just trying to do more stuff that's like chill. We're having a chiller summer. Kind of. That's not true. So my plan for the summer is that I have my big camping trip. I'm going to Outside Lands, which is in San Francisco. I have an art show that I'm putting on with my coworkers again. So I have to do a piece for that and then also work on the zine for that. That's like in early August. So, you know, we gotta work on that. I just got a text from someone saying we should go to a chef's market in my neighborhood. Yeah. that'd be like this weekend. So, you know, I have things going on, and I'm trying not to get burnt out. Working on things. I'm also learning how to DJ. I'm writing a lot. I've been submitting pieces to competitions and things. And I just feel very creatively inspired and feeling more in touch with myself and my body and my life, which is good. Those are good things. I just really want to try not to get burnt out. But my last thing, and this is something that may not happen, but I am considering going to Oslo because my best friend, is going to stay in Oslo for 2 months this summer for a Peace Scholars program. I kind of barely know what that means. I think it's kind of like an ambassador program, like sort of international relations vibes. And I think that that's really cool. But I think I might go and join them for a week. But I don't have any money, so is it gauche to be like, hey guys, here's my Patreon so I can go on a trip to see my best friend in Europe in an expensive country? I would really like to try to figure out how to do that though, even though it would be like a month from today. So, but I think I have kind of a big summer ahead, and I'm happy about that. That's what's going on. And yeah, I've been back on a movie wave, if you can't tell from the Criterion thing. I've just been watching a lot of movies. I'm excited to do more of that, like in my house as like a calming, centering activity. My friend Kennedy just introduced me to some of her friends who do like a film club as well. So like I might go to a few of those. I don't know. I feel like a big movie vibe coming on. Movies more than reading this year, which I've been a big reader the past few years. And it's not that I don't like reading right now. Like, I'm reading. I feel like reading is like the dominant force in my life. Like, it really shapes how I think about things and how I just my mindset. Like, I'm very easily influenced by the things that I read, I think. Like, I just get very into them, and I let it do things to me. That's something about myself that I enjoy. It's the spice of life. Movies, on the other hand, I feel like I have more of an analytical relationship with, and that is fun. Like, it's a nice, like, for me, intellectual activity that I can do to, like, keep my mind sharp. I think I've been needing that. Anyway, I guess that's the update. That was really rambly, but that's where I'm at right now. And part of where I'm at, and why I'm really excited to go to Outside Lands, by the way, is that Charlie, Miss XCX, who, if you have not been on this podcast journey with me, is probably my favorite artist. I feel like I like a lot of music. I have diverse music tastes, and I know what I like. And I have certain artists that I am very devoted to. I enjoy all of their stuff. I seek out, you know, the hidden, the demos and the things. That kind of vibe. I love Miss Charlie. You know, I love the 1975. The fact that Charlie and George are married, listen, that feels like something that God did for me. Are those the only two things that I can really say, like, I'm fully dedicated to for life? Maybe. You know what? Kim Petras, low-key. I love Kim Petras. I've really been enjoying that album. Those are not my 3 favorite artists. I feel like Kim doesn't really deserve to be on that list. That's not true. Wait, I love Kim. Hold on. What are my favorite artists? Lana's on there. Death Grips. Vampire Weekend? I don't know, you guys. Also, the thing is about my taste, a lot of my taste is bad, and I will fully admit that. I think that I have I don't have mid taste. I think I have very middle brow taste in music, and yet I love it. Like, music is like my favorite thing in the world, and I yum eat my garbage. I love it. Not like in like a whatever pop music is on the radio way, because like that's also not my vibe. Just like I genuinely love and enjoy a lot of very popular artists that have a lot of misses. You know, I also like a lot of stuff that's good. You know, I love the Beatles and I love a lot of indie dad rock. You know, I love LCD Sound System. Oh, that's one of my favorite bands. And yeah, you know, I don't know how this makes me more qualified to talk about Charlie XCX. I'm just saying, like, I have a very unpretentious view on things. And I think the way I'm about to talk about Charlie is going to sound a little bit pretentious, but it's not my intention. So just, like, bear with me on that. To get into this Charlie, it's kind of discourse. I feel like people have had some very strong opinions on Charlie recently. She's headed into a new era. It is called film No. Music, fashion, film. That's the correct order. And you can see that on the cover. Music, fashion, film. Because on the cover, she has 3 icons of those worlds. She has, for music, John Cale of the Velvet Underground, another of my favorite bands, taste. For fashion, she has Marc Jacobs. And then for film, she has Martin Scorsese. I think all very solid picks, personally. Some people have taken issue with the fact that she has all men on there. I think you can have whatever feelings on that you want. I think that that's fair. I also think that if those are her real inspirations, which I do believe is true, that is something she should have stayed true to. You can politicize it, you cannot politicize it. And that sounds really milquetoast of me to say, but that is how I feel about that. Who would I put on mine? This is a fun game. Film, Sofia Coppola is on that chair. Because they have to still be alive. You have to get them in a picture together. Fashion, who am I putting in the fashion seat? You know what? Not a fashion designer, but a fashion icon to me. Alexa Chung. Wow, I'm going to have the most Tumblr album cover. This is going to be a very of my generation album cover. Sofia Coppola, Alexa Chung. And, for music? Okay, I do have girls on mine. Mine has women. I do think for music, I'm putting Maddie Healy in that seat. Who, to me, is a woman. That actually is going to be the most controversial thing I say in this entire episode. Maddie Healy, one of the girls. Alexa Chung. Sofia Coppola. Have fun with that, Sophia. So, rock music, the first single from her new album, Music, Fashion, Film, came out on my birthday. There was an immediate critical divide on this song. If you have not listened to it, I recommend going and listening to it now. I'm not going to play it in the episode because I don't want to get a copyright strike. Some positive reviews, some negative reviews. The positive ones that I found, I will quote now. So Pitchfork really focused on how humorous it was, which tends to be like where the positive feedback comes in, is that it is a very ironic sort of song. But I liked that Pitchfork zeroed in on the sincerity at the center of the song, that there are like nods to real feelings in it, even though, saying like the dance floor is dead, which is also where a lot of this discourse comes in, which we will get to, is a joke, right? She's still it's like rock music, but it's pop music. Dance floor is dead, so her making rock music, but she's actually making pop music that is danceable. See, it's a joke. Still within that song, she's like acknowledging, she mentions like nerve damage to her neck that she has, which is real, by the way. She says something, and Pitchfork quotes this one directly about like something, jump off the stage, I hope they catch you, blah blah blah, basically like taking artistic risks. Or that concept is addressed in a very earnest way despite the song being funny. And I think that encapsulates a lot of my positive feelings on the song personally. I like that she's an artist making music about being an artist. That's something that I really hate in movies, but it's something that I really love when you are a musician. I think that's more interesting because I think that being a musician is more of a lifestyle, while being a filmmaker, though it is also a lifestyle, I think that it is something that most people do not find actually that interesting in practice when you get down to it, and I wouldn't subject most people to the concept of working on a film set. So, tangent, but there you go. I think it's fun for a pop star to talk about being a pop star and how that feels to them. And it seems like this record is very much going to be about what it's like to experience the kind of success that she did with Brat, and like how that shapes her worldview now. I just think that's cool. I think that's very honest and fun. The Guardian was also very positive. They compared it, I thought, interestingly, to like more like indie wink and nudge singles. So they mentioned Losing My Edge by LCD Soundsystem and Glamorous Indie Rock and Roll by The Killers, both of which are sort of making fun of the scenes that they're in. I don't know if that's necessarily true because I don't think Charlie is making fun of a scene. I don't even know if Charlie is necessarily in a musical scene. I think she's in more of a wider artistic scene, you know, like the Rachel Sennett's, the Julia Foxes, the sort of like multidisciplinarian, you know, public figures that are straddling that Gen Z millennial line. That seems to be more of her scene. She used to be in the PC music scene, which once again we will get to. But I don't think Charlie has any animosity or judgment toward people who engage with her music or who are emulating the people that she hangs out with. So I don't know if that's necessarily a good comparison, but I do see the like, okay, we are looking at culture, we're taking a step back, we're making it a bit of a joke. That is part of it. I just think, once again, I think Pitchfork kind of nailed it, which is that the song is much more sincere than that, and it is addressing more of her personal feelings than a wider cultural issue. There were also, once again, negative reviews. Most of the general populace that I've talked to did not like it. They think it's too weird, too short. I think to a lot of people it's not catchy. I disagree. I think it gets stuck in my head all the time. But there's the like glitchy part. Actually, I am going to put this in here because I can't do it with my voice. So now we're making rock music. That is something that people don't really seem to vibe with. They think it is weird and dissonant. And it is. It is. And that's also the point, is that it's kind of weird and dissonant, you know? Anthony Fantano is the main critic, I would say, that engaged with it and didn't like it, that I still respect a little bit. He just feels that the song is too silly and that the joke didn't land. Because in an interview prior to releasing the song, she quotes the song, "The dance floor is dead, so now we're making rock music." Many people took that at face value, said that she was being dismissive of queer and black dance scenes, that she was, you know, a trend chaser, that she's not a girl's girl, which is probably the most common thing leveraged against Charlie, going back to that album cover. I think that if it was truly something that she meant, I think that those are fair criticisms, but it's not something that she really meant, and to her it's all a joke. And to most people who are not closely following her, they still are taking all of this at face value and don't understand that it's a joke. So I think that Fantano is fair in that criticism as well, that the joke didn't land. And I think for most people, the joke didn't land because they were not aware that there's even a joke. They're still not aware that there's even a joke. That's kind of interesting. But I also think that it draws parallels to her original work with PC Music, which is the topic of discussion for today. My personal feelings on the song, once again, I think that I really connect with the earnestness of the song, and I appreciate the joke while at the same time I primarily engage with the song on the core merits, which is that it is a song about like being an artist, about taking risks, and about, you know, wanting to make music with your friends that is fun and different, and that you can do whatever you want as an artist. And that is cool. That is fun. That is a good idea. So the joke to me, while yes, it is there, it's like mildly funny, I guess. I like that it is ultimately pushing Charlie forward as an artist that takes these kinds of risks, despite the massive success that I think she was like consciously, unconsciously chasing for years. I think people are like, well, she's like shooting the gun in her neighborhood right now to like keep the rent down. And it's like, well, no, maybe subconsciously. But, like, that's not the point. The point is that she's an artist who can just do whatever she wants. And I think more artists should be doing that sort of thing. Not really thinking too hard about, like, well, is my label going to like this? Is my fan base going to like this? She just put out, like, a TikTok that was like, a lot of people are not going to like this record. And that's cool. That's, like, what personal taste is. Bingo! I just think more pop stars should be like that. And that's why I'm talking about this today. Yeah, the controversy around the dance floor is dead really made waves on my Instagram page. There were like long screeds about it. A lot of celebrities made comments. Like Madonna even commented on it on Instagram in a very shady way. It's kind of gotten out of hand. And even if you are construing it as like reductive to like dance culture, rave culture, I think that is just removed from the actual context of the song, of what she's trying to do. That being said, I think that provoking people in that way, even if it was the intention, is not favorable to her image So, you know, from a PR standpoint, maybe not the best. I'm not a pop music fan that's like, well, we should talk to a PR person about that. I don't care. I don't want a PR person to even exist. I think that we should all just be letting artists exist on their own merits. And if they say things that are stupid sometimes, they're going to say things that are stupid sometimes. Okay? And I think that maybe letting people run with that was not the smartest move in the world. I think Fantano was right that the joke didn't really land because, I mean, once again, I think if people start calling your joke racist, if they start calling your joke potentially like homophobic, your joke didn't really land. You know, once again, I know that was not her intention. And I don't think that the comment itself is actually inherently either of those things. Like, I think in the context in which Charlie is saying, well, the dance floor is dead in like a joking manner, obviously, I don't think she really thinks that. She just DJ'd a couple days ago. But, you know, I've been hearing people say riffs on that for a while now, that, like, if you go to certain clubs, people aren't actually dancing. If you go to shows, people aren't really dancing. You know, she just got through with Brat, and Brat was a huge, like, club hit, obviously. But if you're over Brat, it's like, well, that's done, that's over. That's not the vibe, let's move on to a different vibe. Those things are not inherently problematic. Saying that club music is bad, I think is problematic. I think that saying that the club scene and, like, current club music, which is primarily made by, like, you know, people of color and queer people, that would be problematic. But that's also not what she's saying, you know what I mean? But because the comment itself was so opaque, people ran with it and extrapolated and wanted to defend something that mattered to them. So that's the main criticism I think I'm going to give to all of this in this episode, is that I think that when you're talking about club music, there's a lot of defensiveness in general because of, like, I think historical trauma from, like, the disco derbies that happened in Chicago, like, 50 years ago. And I think that that's really fair. And I think that those spaces mean a lot to people. So, understood. I think that that makes sense as a criticism of what she said and what the lyric is. I also personally think and know that that once again is not the intention, and that it's more of an inward sort of comment about what happened with her music. And I think that in the case of Brat, that may or may not be closer to the truth. Being someone who goes to Brat nights, a lot of people who go to those nights don't actually care about that music that much. They care about looking hot and going to, like, a cunty, clubby, girly night. And that is not the core club audience. So I have sympathy, and also the execution was a little bit botched, you know? Charlie did address the backlash in a way that I think is interesting, and that I primarily want to get into today. In her Instagram post on her Finsta, B-Sides, which is where she's posting, like, more behind-the-scenes stuff about the album. Here's what she said. I'm just going to read the quote. "Seeing all the different reactions to my song Rock Music has been really interesting. My friends and I have been discussing how in ways it reminds us of the initial discourse around PC music, how the label was deemed as almost critiquing or looking down on pop music or something, and there was an element of that with Vroom Vroom too when that EP came out. It's all kind of fascinating. I love talking about music and art with my friends, so I'm happy people are throwing out thoughts. I'm not going to explain where I was coming from with rock music, but all I know is that things can be funny, earnest, sincere, and joyful all at the same time, and that's what I feel about a lot of the things I make. Anyways, was just thinking about things and thought I'd put them on the internet. Will probably regret it. Lol." I agree with her. I think that's a really interesting way of looking at it. But why? So PC Music is a label that she worked with. She was never signed to them, but she worked with them on her Vroom Vroom EP, on Number One Angel, Pop 2, and then obviously still works with A.G. Cook and Umru today. A.G. Cook, Umru, and Finn Keen, who was Easy Fun today. Those were all sort of PC Music acolytes. And Easy Fun, Finn Keen, I'm just going to say Finn Keen because that's his official name now, was also, like, a very early PC Music signee. Yeah, this is something that she's been very interested in for a long time, has worked with them for a long time. But they were a label that started in the mid-2010s in London as a sort of more art collective that made music in a very, I would say, pop, like, very contemporary to that time, like pop art style. These like hyper real images of like CDs and iPods and soda cans and like futuristic looking outfits, and like XCX World is a scrapped album that she was going to make with the PC Music label, where it's like Charlie sitting on top of like a big skyscraper made out of glass, and there's like all these helicopters and things in the background. Like it's very like hyper cityscape, hyper pop, you might say. It's a pop music style that is satirizing pop music while also being a love letter to pop music. There's nothing hateful about it. It's like making the Spice Girls on steroids and really enjoying that concept. Making commercial music that is commercial music, but is aware that that concept in itself is funny. So that's what she means when she says like it can be funny, earnest, joyful, and sincere at the same time, because that is what PC music was. It was funny because everybody was in on the joke, but it was also earnest because you could fit in lyrics that meant something, that were like emotionally honest, and that, you know, were inclusive of like the queer community. Like that's where the joyfulness comes in. We're inclusive of like people who loved pop but also like wanted something a little bit more. It was just a really cool thing that I really connected with when it was all coming out, and so I feel vaguely qualified to talk on this topic because I'm very connected. I made a cassette tape at one point of a bunch of PC music releases that I don't know where it went because I made it in my ex-boyfriend's house. I love PC music, so I'm going to talk about it. Going back to that Pitchfork review that I mentioned earlier, I think that PC music and rock music have the same DNA because of it being a joke that is concealing a sincere message. That's the whole point. That like ironic wink while actually telling like a sincere story about an emotional truth is something that Charlie is very familiar with, that A.G. Cook and Finn Keen, who produced the track specifically, are very, very familiar with. I'm going to link it to a song called Hey Cutie that was like an earlier release from the label. It was a novelty song, like truly a novelty song about a fake soda called Cutie, sold by a fake pop star also named Cutie. That fake pop star now goes by Hyde, H-Y-D, and it was produced by Sophie. So it was a joint project between Sophie and Hyde. I think Hannah Diamond also did all the visuals. Hannah Diamond is an artist on the PC Music label as well who also makes this kind of music, was the producer of a lot of the visuals for PC Music in general. She's a photographer, a very good photographer, by the way. But yeah, it's just this like very futuristic, we're selling you something, and it's very obvious that we're selling you something, and here's a song that sounds like it would be in a commercial for a soda or energy drink, maybe. I don't remember exactly, but sold by this pop star you've never heard of. And it's a very catchy track, a very bouncy, fun track that is enjoyable to listen to, that also, when I listen to it, I feel something. There's something in the DNA of that song that is very earnest. Let me read you some lyrics from Hey Cutie, okay? So the song, remember once again, is technically about a soda. But the lyrics are, there's something I want to say. I feel your hands on my body every time you think of me. That's the chorus. And there's something about the way that she sings it that makes me believe that she is thinking about somebody and that they are there with her and that it is real. And that's beautiful. Just like through production, through vocal tone, through very simple lyrics, that feeling is real and is conjured, and suddenly that is happening to me as well. That's crazy. That is like... Sophie was amazing. Anyway, I think that to me is very similar to what rock music is doing, where yes, it's a joke. It's a joke. But within that joke, you are writing an actual song that is saying something about your life and experience. There's also a quote from Hyde, being quoted as QT here, that says, "Hey cutie is really about that moment when you feel the presence of something, even if it is not physically visible. When I went dancing, sometimes I would hear a friend's song playing or see a special image, and it somehow felt like they were visiting me in another form. I was so inspired by this sensation that I felt the need to bring it to a mass market context in a carbonated liquid form." that's such a beautiful thought. And then to be like, and I commercialized it, is funny. It's funny, and she's in on the joke, and everybody who liked it was in on the joke. And that is what rock music's doing. Frankly, I'm sorry. Like, it's the same. The DNA is still there. Is that really all I wanted to say? Maybe. Maybe I just wanted to connect rock music and Hey Cutie, because I think that they have a lot in common. And I think that Sophie's presence is very much still with us. That's beautiful. So, I don't know. I'm really excited about the album. I think that the second single, Spring Summer 26, I like more. It is more purely earnest, I would say. Like, yes, the concept, once again, is a little bit goofy, where it's like the fashion part of the record, I guess. And like in the music video, she's like walking down a catwalk. It's, you know, she's supposed to be a model. And she's talking about how like the world's going to end and we can't do anything about it. And nothing can save us. Art can't save us. And she, you know, mentions like, if I talked more about my heritage, if I talked more about my politics, like maybe that could be profitable for me. It's more earnest, and I think that more underscores what the record is probably going to be in full, which I'm excited about. I think that, once again, like, I think being earnest is good, and I think there's been a lack of that, and it seems like this new wave of electronic artists is kind of starting to bring that back, and I think it's good. I see, once again, that PC music DNA in a lot of these artists that are kind of coming up right now. And I see, frankly, rock music, not the song, but like rock music, the genre, influencing a lot of electronic music right now. Like Slater, you have Underscores, you have Jane Remover. Kim Petras' stuff right now is a little bit rock influenced. I just think that rock is with us. I think that Sophie is with us, and I think that it's really cool that all of that is like coming together in a fun and beautiful way. And if I talk about this anymore, I'm going to start crying, because all of that kind of matters to me. I think that all of this is kind of having a moment outside of just what Charlie is doing. And she is kind of the first to articulate it, but it has been happening for like a couple of years now. Also, like Nina Geraci, that there's that iPod Touch song that's like, I love my iPod Touch because it plays music for me that I found in a post somewhere. And it's like, that is a goofy idea, being like, my most nostalgic thing for me is like looking at my iPod Touch, but that song is also so beautiful. And you know, I think there's something in the air, you guys. Is that all I wanted to say? Is that this whole episode? Maybe. I don't know. I could have done more research for this, but I kind of just wanted to hop on and start talking. And that's what we got. I just really love music, and I really like electronic music, and I really love pop. And I, frankly, also kind of like rock music, the genre. And I think it's good that rock is kind of back and that it's in the hands of the girls and the gays. And I like that we're experimenting. I like that we're mixing genres. As Underscores would say, pop rock, electronic, rap, rock, and roll. I think we are really pushing the boundaries of what those things could sound like together. And it's pretty sick. I like that Charlie's doing kind of a Velvet Underground thing. You know, like, it seems like a lot of the influences that people are playing off of are things that I also love listening to and have grown up listening to. It's great. It's great. I love that PC music is still with us spiritually. I love that pop punk is kind of with us spiritually. I love that Justice has been really with us spiritually. There's just so much good stuff out right now. I think we're in a really good spot with music. People are doing stuff that's different. Another TikTok that I saw, which it sounds like I'm on TikTok a lot. I'm really not. I just like to clock in, see what the girls are talking about, and clock out. But Claro, another artist that I love, also posted a video that's like, hey, this new album I'm making, you guys might not like very much, but that's okay. So the girls are literally experimenting, but she was like, I think music is like what I was just saying, it's in a spot where people are trying new things. They're not really letting themselves think too much about outside influence. And she's right. I don't know if she was referring to the same artist that I was, but like, it's true. Something's in the water. And I think we're in a sort of like post-irony phase, maybe, where like we're almost making fun of irony. Whoa. Clocked it. Because it does kind of feel like Charlie is making fun of the concept of an ironic concept in a way. Do you know what I mean by that when I say that? That it's like we're using irony in a way that is barely concealing the message, and like the joke is the joke. We are sort of a Dadaist generation. I think people have said this for years, but I like that we can keep adding layers onto what's funny. If my wider generation is like, what, Charlie was born in like the early 90s to like the mid 2000s, I consider that to be widely my generation. I really don't care about the boundaries. I just feel like within the 10-year span, I feel like those are my people, and I like what we're doing. I'm having a good time. I'm gonna end this because now I'm just gonna ramble, but those are my thoughts on the Charlie record. I'm excited for it. I think that if you don't like it, you should tell me why, because I'm curious. And that's it. I like talking about music on here. Maybe I'll just make this a music podcast. Fuck it. Who cares? I need to get ready to go to my wine bar. Talk to you guys next time. Bye.